We're going to talk about a lot of things tonight. We're going to talk about Social Security retirement. Some folks get confused and ask us questions about Social Security disability. So this workshop's not about Social Security disability. If you need help with Social Security disability, we could refer you to a law firm that fights the government to get you your disability because you paid into a program, and if you are disabled, you want to get that money out. Folks that we tend to be most useful to are folks who have saved well for retirement. Saved well could be different amounts of money. We've had folks from these workshops come see us with $250,000 saved for retirement, and we're excluding real estate in that. So investable assets of $250,000 up to about $15 million. And it'd surprise you that there's probably somebody in this room with $10, $12, $15, $20 million. They look just like you. They might be you. So you never know. Be nice to the person next to you. No elbows. Maybe they'll name you as one of their beneficiaries in their Roth or something. That'd be great. So you have a number of things in your folder. I'm going to tell you a couple of the things you have. So on the right-hand side, we have this feedback form. So one thing you might be surprised is we're going to offer everybody a time to come see us for free. No charge, no obligation. We don't boot your car, catch and release program. Give you a checkup from the neck up, make sure that your Social Security is maximized, your Social Security retirement. And our goal also is to get you to where, for most folks, it takes about 5 years from now to get you to where you don't pay any federal or state income tax the rest of your lives. For some folks, if somebody has a large monthly pension in the household, then that might not be possible. But for most folks, we can reduce your Social Security taxation and taxation on other things like deferred comp, TSP, and such. But for 90% of the room, we find usually we can help 90% of the room get to 5 years from now, no federal or state income taxes the rest of your life. We have a longtime client. He's been a client about 10 years. He has a business in Rolling Meadows. He's finally going to sell that business. And he's not going to get as much as he wanted for the business. He's going to get about $450,000, but he's about to turn 70, $450,000, he'll take it, right? So business has been tough for him the last couple of years. So there are folks, now his capital gains on this thing are enormous because he invested like $1, like he brought this pen to work. And now this company's worth $500,000. So he doesn't want to pay long-term capital gains on a company. Just call it $500,000 instead of $450,000. So there are 7 or 8 different strategies we've already worked up with him where he could potentially pay no capital gains tax. So if you have highly appreciated stocks, if you have highly appreciated real estate, a lot of folks have rental buildings and stuff. They don't want to be a landlord anymore. There are several strategies that we could look at, like Section 1202. There's qualified opportunity funds. There's a lot of strategies we can employ to potentially just wipe long-term capital gains. So one of the strategies we could use for him, or anybody who has rental real estate is another one, or NVIDIA stock that makes you nervous, if it's a non-retirement account. There's a thing called a qualified opportunity fund where we could say we sell his business in Rolling Meadows. He gets his $450,000. We defer the long-term capital gains tax, put that money into qualified opportunity fund for 10 years, grow it up some more, and then we sell that qualified opportunity fund. We pay no tax on either transaction. Both transactions are tax-free. So there's a lot of stuff in my noggin, as well as Max and Matt and Saida. We have 4 advisors at our firm, and taxes are a big thing. Tax planning is a big thing in part of what we do. So if you want to come see us or not, we just ask for your feedback. You can tell us tonight was great, tonight was horrible, whatever you want to say. I mean, keep within reason, right? Don't hurt my feelings. If you would, in the upper right, today is 4/28. So we teach this workshop several different locations. Oakton College in Des Plaines, Oakton College in Skokie, here at the Mount Prospect Public Library, the Mount Prospect Park District. I think I'm missing some other ones, Park Ridge Park District. Also at what used to be called the Frisbee Senior Center, it's now called the Gen Center. We've taught at the Arlington Heights VFW, a whole bunch of places. So we get confused, you can imagine. Where did we see it? So 4/28/2026, you could write the library on there if you want. And we have it in our calendar. Obviously, we'd sort that out ourselves. But here, for your first and last, or for your names here. So like, Mike, is your legal name Michael?
Yes.
Okay. So like we already figured out. Is your email address, does it have Mike in it or something? Is there a way we knew you were a Mike, or did you register as a Mike?
Registered as a Mike.
You registered as a Mike. Sometimes we have somebody register as a Michael, then we see it says Mike at AOL.com. Like, oh, he must be a Mike. So we don't want to call Mike Michael. We want to be friends. So his friends call him Mike. Now, sometimes I say, Ray, what's your first name? Is it Raymond? So if you had registered as Raymond, I would say, what do your friends call you? And I would expect you to say Ray. You might say something else. You don't want to know what my friends call me, you know. But we've had Bubba and all this stuff. We've had people that, like Josephine, she might say, my friends call me Susie. Like, okay, we're making note of that. So it could just be totally different. So we want to go with what your friends call you. So it says your name, your first and last name there, but it could be Bubba, it could be Susie, it could be Fred, it could be Frederick, whatever it is your friends call you, rather than your formal name or not your third grade teacher, okay? Your ages, in the upper right, we're a little nosy. We ask about your ages. This is going to be important for Social Security retirement claiming, especially if there's a difference in age between you and your spouse. There also could be a situation, I should mention, if you're a surviving spouse, a widow or widower, you may be entitled to a survivor benefit as young as age 60, and that could allow you to put off your own benefit till later, so that's one way that we can potentially maximize your Social Security retirement over your lifetime. Another strategy could be, it says here your spouse's name. Now, if you're single, never been married, right in there, single, never been married. If you were once married, if you're divorced and not remarried, and you were once married you were married for 10 years or longer, if you were married for 10 years or longer and you're divorced and not since remarried, please write that there. You may have been married to somebody who was a jerk, but they were a high-earning jerk. And so we may be able to get you a larger benefit by claiming a spousal benefit first and then your own benefit later. And that we can do that without waking sleeping dogs. So nobody from Social Security tells your ex-spouse that you're doing this. It doesn't harm their benefit even if you'd like to. And so we could get you a spousal benefit, then you can defer your own benefit to later, get you more money over your lifetime. There's a lot of things that go into Social Security that you may or may not be aware of. So all of that spouse info can go there in that second line. If you're married, go ahead and put your spouse's nickname and last name there, their age. I should mention, it's a good time to mention, we do help same-sex couples. A lot of times in the suburbs, people are a little leery if they're same-sex to come out with their spouse, whereas in the city it'd be different a lot of times. So the ages of folks here tonight, you might still, if you're gay or lesbian or whatever, you might have still a stigma in your head, like, oh, is it weird in the suburbs to be gay or whatever? We do help same-sex couples. So don't be bashful about that. If you are same-sex, always bring your spouse to these. If you want to come see us, bring your spouse to come see us. Okay, we help everybody the same. So I just want to let people know they're welcome. Where it says cell phone there, most of you, we already have your cell phone, but if you would just humor us and make sure we have your cell phone there, what we can do is we can just text you a parking instruction if you come see us. We have a nice kind of rock star parking right outside our door there. So we are on the first floor of the Valspar. It's kind of a funny thing. It used to be the Valspar building, I-90 in Cumberland area. On one end of our complex is the Lutheran building. You might know that. On the other end, the Valspar building. Now, Valspar used to have the naming rights like on both sides of the building. And then after COVID, they figured they only wanted to pay for one side of the building. So now the other side of the building says Ram McNally. So we're on the first floor of the Valspar/Ram McNally building. Inside baseball is just one building. But we're at the first floor there, so there's no elevators involved. There's no stairs involved. There is just right out our revolving door, there's a bunch of visitor spots, and one of them is reserved just for our company there. And we have a little map for how that works. So there's no, we taught something in Rosemont years ago, and this lady goes, oh, Chicago, I don't go to the city. And I said, ma'am, look on the map. It's like, I Google mapped it. It's 4 minutes. It's around, you just go down Higgins. And that's all she had to do. She, oh, okay. So we're not in a dangerous area. It's 60631. It's the O'Hare neighborhood. It's where a lot of police officers and firefighters live there. So we're in the 16th district, one of the best. So all of that. Let's have a contest. Who has the most email addresses? Who has the most email addresses? We don't have a prize or anything. Who has more than one? Probably everybody. Okay, I'm going to pick on you. You're the first person, Al, with the hand there. So, Al, how many email addresses?
7.
Oh boy, 7 email addresses. Does anybody have more than 7? I picked the right guy, didn't I? We had a gentleman. Do you work in IT?
Yes.
Nailed it. We had a guy one time. He had 50. Yeah, I have 50. What do you do with them all? So, Al, do you have an email address you give to people that you don't want to hear from?
Yes.
Okay, instead of doing that, the email you use okay? The email you use now. Gave you a free cookie and everything. So the reason why is because we're going to send you a weekly newsletter, investment tips, tax planning for retirement. There's a whole lot of tax planning stuff that we help folks with. We just met yesterday with a couple that have been clients for about a year now, and we reminded them, here's what we're doing, why we're doing it. Of the money they've saved for retirement, most of it's tax deferred, not tax free. It's an IRA, 401k. They still have one. We've been working with them about a year, and we're restructuring things for them. And we don't just do basic things like Roth conversions. There's a whole bunch of other strategies that are more complex than that. I don't want them to be complex, but they're more advanced. We'll say advanced. We take care of the legwork on it. So they still have 1.3 million tax deferred. A good rule of thumb is that we're going to be able to save about half that much in federal income tax over their lifetimes. So $650,000 saved in federal income tax over their lifetimes. Now we've already set it up. We just were able to tell the lady yesterday, it's a married couple. The husband already retired. He actually used to be the FedEx guy. He was the guy who would come fix the FedEx bin at the office building. He was like the FedEx bin mechanic or something. So he retired a couple years ago, and he told his wife, well, you're still making good money and you're a couple years younger. Why don't you keep working? And that went along to a point, and now she's tired of it. And tired of him, tired of working. So we just showed her yesterday she can retire now, or actually in June. She's 61. All of our advisors are health insurance licensed in Illinois. We have a health insurance broker for under 65. We have a full-time Medicare broker. We showed her how she can afford, we can help her afford the health insurance for those 4 years till she gets to Medicare. And not only as they're currently set, with the 1.3 million still tax deferred, if we did no more tax planning, they wouldn't run out of money until their mid-90s. And she's 61, he's 65 right now. So they wouldn't run out of money until their mid-90s. So we're encouraging her, I think you ought to hang up the job in June like you want to do at 61. And then with our tax planning, though, they still have 1.3 million tax deferred. So as we rejigger things there, we determined we can save them about $650,000 more in federal income tax over their lifetime. You put that money back in the hopper, and now they don't run out of money until they're 105, 110 years old. Years of age, years of life experience. So now she has the confidence to retire. One thing I remember a year ago when they came to see us, when they first became clients, she said, I got this great job, I'm making good, she's making 150, 160 a year. I got this great job, making good money, it's pretty stressful, I'm managing a lot of people. She goes, but my mom lives in Wisconsin, and I'm tired of, she's like, it's the damnedest thing. I wanted to go see my mom in Wisconsin, and I have to put in for PTO with myself, and I only had 4 days available, so I didn't even get the 2 weekends. So she got a weekend and then 4 days, and then she had to come back for like 1 day. And I said, how old's your mom? She goes, a year ago, she goes 84. And, this is a lady who says she likes to spend time with her mom. She likes Wisconsin, nice and relaxing, all this, but really spend time with her mom. So your mom's 84. I said, how long does your mom live? And she stopped for a minute, and she really got concerned, thought about it. She already knew it, but we spoke it. And she says, she lives 3 more years. So I said, why are we working this job where you got to put in for PTO for 4 days with yourself? You can't even get a freebie day. Then you only have 1 weekend to go with the 4 days, and your mom's going to live 3 more years, and because her health's not great. And so I would rather you spend time with your mom than time at this job that you don't need. You could retire now. You don't need. And I told her a year ago you could retire now, but now she finally, okay, I'm finally worn out. So if your mom's going to live 3 more years, why are we working a job? And then we can afford the health insurance. She can afford the health insurance. They're not going to run out of money. But a big reason they won't run out of money is because of the tax planning that we're going to help them with. We've already been helping them with, but we need to continue to work on it the next couple of years. If you want to come see us, we are tomorrow morning. Nicole is going to FedEx you a package of information, a whole bunch of different things. And so it says street address, no P.O. boxes. Do we have any letter carriers or postal employees here? Sometimes we do. Don't be mad at us if we use FedEx. We just want to get it to you quickly, have it trackable and all that. But the FedEx and the post office is like cats and dogs living together or not living together. So we have to have a street address to send your FedEx. Sometimes we have Mr. Top Secret. We had a guy, I was telling Nicole, it was years and years ago before Nicole worked with us. We had, how you register and you have your name and that, and you check in with the back with Nicole. We had a gentleman who used a fake name, because he showed up and his name was on the roster as Richard Nixon. And like bullshit. Pull his ID. Sure, sir, show me your ID. Get the heck out of here. So, and then sometimes we have Mr. Top Secret that wants to be Richard Nixon, a fake name. But and then we have that same kind of guy is the guy who wants to give you a PO box, like he's like the Unabomber or something, like everything's top secret. So real names, nicknames, street address, FedEx. We get you your information. As we go through tonight, we're going to teach you. And maybe things you already know, and maybe things you don't know. Usually, when folks come see us, they have 3 pretty big blind spots. There's usually a few more things, but kind of usually 3 big rocks of things that we ought to look at considering adjusting, so we have a better outcome. So, as we go through these items, we're going to talk about investment planning and management. And after towards more of the end of the talk tonight, you're going to want to grade yourself in these areas 1 to 10. So 10 would be perfect. Now, most folks aren't perfect, but some folks are pretty good. A lot of folks will really have it together on investments. They'll say, I'm a 9. I don't know how I could get any better. I'm not quite a 10. I'm 9.5, like a gymnast, So you might rate yourself that. And you might wait till later in the talk to rate yourself on these. I'd recommend it. The tax planning for retirement, you may have already heard a couple of things that make you think that I thought I was an 8, 9, 10, and maybe we're more like a 5. Maybe we can make some improvements. Maybe these folks could teach us how to make some subtle adjustments that would really have a great outcome for us. In the area of medical planning, now medical planning can involve Medicare. It can include your health insurance between, say, age 61 and 65, like the client I was just talking about. It could also include things like long-term care concerns. Some long-term care policies, John Hancock is A+ rated for financial strength. Another company, Genworth, they happen to be C++ rated for financial strength. I'm a little concerned with Genworth, will they be able to meet their claims just because AM Best rates them C++. So on the John Hancock, say, well, that's a fine company, but now here's the problem with long-term care. And I'm kind of a Dave Ramsey fan on some issues anyway. Some things he's not quite right on. A lot of things he really is, like the get out of debt, stay out of debt, don't borrow money. Investments and insurance, he can be a little off. Dave Ramsey will tell you we don't like to recommend long-term care, and a lot of people don't like to purchase it either. But Dave Ramsey will say things, well, just don't worry about long-term care when you're 60, then you buy it. What happens if you have What happens if you have a heart attack when you're 59? You can't buy long-term care insurance. If you have just about any kind of medical diagnosis of any significance at 59, and you waited to buy your long-term care when you're 60, you're not insurable medically. So there's that. Also, you have to go through financial underwriting to get long-term care insurance. You have to go through medical underwriting to get long-term care insurance. It's sort of like a combination of the old days when you have to qualify for your health insurance underwriting, and then you have to qualify like for life insurance writing or disability. It's like qualifying for several things at once. It's kind of difficult. So long-term care insurance, financial underwriting, medical underwriting, and then there's a big premium nobody wants to pay. You don't know if you're going to use it. So it's not the thing that I get most excited about. Now, something that a lot of folks are not aware of that we use in some situations, there's an Illinois Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. Where in Illinois, we could protect all but $16,000 of your assets. And if you need care, now we need to set this up 5 years before you use it, ideally. So if we think that one of you, if there's 2 of you, or if you're just by yourself, if we think we're about 5 years from needing long-term care, that's when we consider a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust because it has a 5-year look back. So what we would do, and it's an irrevocable trust also, so you don't want to use it unless you think you're going to use it. But a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust can be a great way, say for, we'll pick on Ray and Josephine, and we'll say that Ray's the problem, because the men usually are, right? So say that Ray needs long-term care. Say there was no Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. Say Ray goes in the home, he starts burning up the money, and then he passes a few years later. And then Josephine doesn't have much money left, if anything, because it was spent on Ray's care. It can happen. So if we thought that he might go in the home 5 years from now, you look great. I think you got more years than that. Yes. So if we thought he needed care in 5 years, we might consider using a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, because then if he had to go in the home or in the long-term care, now we'd have Medicaid pay for it. In a lot of these highfalutin and fancy places, they accept Medicaid. It just doesn't look cool in their brochure. Like the Moorings in Arlington Heights, our neighbor's trying to get in there but only if she can get the right place that she wants. She wants a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, so she can have visitors and things stay with her, family and that. And she said the moorings for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit, you have to buy the unit. They want $1 million for the unit. Then they want $6,000 to $10,000 per month in the cost to stay there. $6,000 if you're getting around real well, and then as you're not getting around real well, then it's $10,000 a month. So, and I'm not saying that Medicaid would put you in $1 million unit, but these senior living places, they do accept Medicaid money. It doesn't look good in the brochures. They're trying to sell my neighbor the $1 million place, and they have the brochure with the pretty grass and all that stuff. It's hard to do that and say, oh, by the way, we take Medicaid. So Medicaid Asset Protection Trust is something we discuss with a lot of folks, especially if we have one spouse that's losing cognition. We want to start having these discussions. You really want to do this before you need it. In the area of legacy planning, and we're going to talk about Social Security things as well, but just kind of going through a list of all the different things. They all kind of tie together. You'll see that here in a little bit. Legacy planning, how many of us have a will? It's usually not everybody. It's about 45% of the room, 40% of the room has a will. How many of us have a trust? It's pretty good. That's about 25% maybe. That's pretty good. So if you have a will, what's one issue with a will? There's a few issues. What's the problem with a will? So wills do not avoid probate. Ray, if we had gold stars, you'd get a gold star. So wills do not avoid probate. Wills guarantee probate unless you have a trust. So if you have a trust, then you have like a pour-over will. I kind of won't get into the weeds too much. A trust will maintain privacy. It'll avoid probate. It'll allow you to settle the estate very quickly. So privacy, no probate, settle the estate quickly. You can have an interim clause, as like a no contest clause in your trust, so that if one of your ne'er-do-well relatives tries to attack the trust and say, I should be included, anybody who attacks the trust is excluded as a beneficiary from the trust. It's like a poison pill for them, right? Like, get them out of here, right? So in a trust, it's sort of in the area of contract law. So the probate court has no say-so in it. I've heard all different numbers from all different attorneys. One attorney recently said, and he just deals with people who haven't even saved much, and he does estate planning, and he said in Cook County, what he's saying is the average probate case, even simple cases, the average probate case right now in Cook County is taking 14 months to settle, and even with folks who haven't saved a lot, it's $5,000 cost to their estate. Another attorney recently told me that what he's saying, he deals with people a little bit more affluent, and he's seeing the average cost with a range of cost of $12,000 to $18,000 per estate. The more, they'll itch there. The more you have, the more probate costs. Okay, there's a little schedule there, and it's a percentage type deal. It's rather complicated, but every few years, AARP does a study and determine which is more costly. So we see a lot of folks right now are told that a will be $300. And a trust will be $4,000. And so people say, well, I'm no sucker. I'm getting the $300. I'm getting the will. But the will guarantees probate. 14 months to settle, $5,000 to maybe $18,000 cost to your estate. On the other hand, if you do the trusts right now are costing around $4,000, and there is no probate. So if you're looking at, on the low end over here, $5,300 with the will and the probate, or $4,000 with the trust. The difference is pretty striking. Plus, you gain the privacy and the expeditious nature of settling the estate with the trust. The trust never goes to probate, and it's really a lot more durable too. If you can put an interim clause in your will, so if it's attacked that the folks are excluded. It's just, why even give them the chance of going to probate court? If you go to probate too. You have to file a notice to creditors. The creditors can come in and claim their piece before your kids get their piece, if that's who you want to leave money to. With the trust, there's no notice to creditors that has to be filed, and so the creditors don't come and try to get their money out of the trust before your kids. Okay, so a lot of that. So we got legacy planning and income planning for retirement. That's one that a lot of folks have concerns about now. We have a number of folks who are working when they don't need to be working. We have a gentleman who's he's in Palatine. He's like 55 years old, 54, 55 years old. And we told him, you're done, you can retire now. I know you're not 59 and a half now, you can retire now. You have enough money that's not even in retirement accounts. And then people are just so nervous. We have some really fancy planning software. We're able to show them, here's where the income comes from, here's where all the taxes are reduced, just how everything works together. And so what keeps people from retiring is they don't have an income plan. And so if an income plan for retirement is of concern, that's there. So as we go through it tonight, you can score yourself. One would be scared to death, oh my goodness, horrible. 10 would be perfect. What's missing? Is that Doris? You notice the 7s are missing. Are you an engineer? Are you an accountant? Do you have a technical? Just detail-oriented. I was in the Navy, I appreciate that. Attention to detail. The people in the back that work with me are laughing now. So yeah, we took the 7s out. We took the 7s out because that's what everybody wants to circle. I'm a 7. I'm above average. I'm better than most. I'm lucky number 7, all of that. So why we did that is so you kind of make a decision which way you are. I would say if we end up by the end of the night, you score yourself 8 or better in all 5 areas, you don't need to come see us. So 8 or better in all 5 areas, don't need to come see us. If you're 6 or lower in any one area, we ought to sit down and talk about it. And we can just show you. Oftentimes there's W. Clement Stone started here. He started a company called Combined Insurance 100 years ago in Chicago. Then the company was owned by Aon. Now it's owned by Chubb. But W. Clement Stone, I paraphrase it. It's big doors swing on little hinges. So if we can just make a slight adjustment, no big changes, slight adjustment, sometimes the outcome can be dramatically improved. So so we have all of that. In the lower left there, we have an area where we talk about, what are our top concerns? And there's a little choose your own adventure, fill in the blank too. Market volatility is the ups and downs of the stock market. Some people are concerned about that. Income taxes on Social Security and retirement accounts, that can be a concern. So as many of these you want to check are up to you. Running out of money, that's a real big one. They say now people fear running out of money more than they fear death. It used to be that people feared public speaking more than death, which I thought that was kind of crazy. Maybe I'm a daredevil. But yeah, they say now people fear running out of money more than death because, I guess if we die, we don't need to worry about money, but if we're still around, we got to worry about the money. I don't know what that's all about. So anywho, one of the biggest questions we get is, Scott, Max, Matt, Saida, will you sit down with us and make sure we're going to be okay? And the answer is yes. We do that on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We do that in the morning and again in the afternoon. And like I said, first floor of the Valspar Rand McNally building. I-90 in Cumberland neck of the woods, or some of you might think of it as D Road and Higgins Road, all kind of that same area there. And so I would say if you come see us, we probably sit down about 45 minutes. Could be longer, could be shorter, kind of up to you. And there's no charge, no obligation to come see us. In the upper right, we got real nosy about what your ages are. I even asked you if you're divorced, and I get all in your business. Now, at the bottom left, one more nosy thing is how much have we saved for retirement excluding real estate. There will be folks who have saved less than $250,000. In that area, we're really concerned that we maximize your Social Security retirement. We also do not want to pay any federal income tax on your Social Security. We were just talking to a client the other day. He's a big fan of President Trump. So we have one couple in Park Ridge. The husband voted for President Trump, and then the wife voted for Bernie. And then they come see us together, and you just like, okay, here we go. Hide the stapler. It's going to be entertaining. They don't agree on anything. So, but we have half our clients. We can say like, oh, we got this one half votes this way and this one half votes that way, and then we have this aisle so they don't beat each other up because the punches can't land. So, but we have a client who's a big President Trump fan we talked to a couple days ago, and he goes, well, I'm just so glad when I retire now, I'm not going to have, he saved a lot of money. I'm just so glad when I retire now, I don't have to worry about paying taxes on Social Security. Oh, hold on. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act does not say that there's no taxes on Social Security. the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that was signed into law July 4th of 2025, it says that there is a senior deduction, but you have to be 65 or older, and you can't make above certain amounts. It's about $75,000 per single person, $150,000 per couple, and those are those income phase outs. And also, this might shock you, at the end of this administration, the $6,000 per senior deduction ends. It's almost like they planned it that way. Like, it's like, you know, hey, re-elect me or vote for Vice President Vance, or else this thing blows up. And even if Vice President Vance got elected, then you'd have to have the Congress to keep that deduction alive. So it's a good political football to put in your legislation, right? And both sides do it. So I'm not picking on anybody, but both sides do it. So a lot of folks think, well, now there's no taxes on Social Security retirement. That's not true. Not true for everybody. Some folks in this room, in fact, in this area with higher incomes, the higher 401k and IRA balances and all those, deferred comp, SEP, Simple Keo, 403B, TSA, anything I forgot. Those tax-deferred retirement accounts put together with maybe monthly pension, put together with Social Security benefits. A lot of folks in Chicagoland are going to find themselves in retirement if they don't perform some planning, both in the area of Social Security and tax planning for retirement for the future. They're going to find that they're going to have up to 85% of their Social Security taxed by the IRS in retirement when they're not even working. So what we're trying to do is a combination of things, maximize your Social Security retirement, and we also want to get to where you get it free from federal income taxes. And ideally, 5 years from now, 90% of the room we find 5 years from now, we get you to zero federal and state income taxes the rest of your life. And as I mentioned earlier, there are some 7 or 8 different ways that can potentially sell a business and pay no long-term capital gains tax, sell an apartment building, no long-term capital gains tax, sell highly appreciated stock, no long-term capital gains tax. I should mention too, does anybody have employer stock in their 401k? We have that sometimes. There's about 3 different people. So there is a thing called net unrealized appreciation. We have a client, we have more than one of these. Well, Abbott, we have a gentleman who's a client who retired from Abbott, and he's got a bunch of Abbott stock in his 401k. We're showing how to use net unrealized appreciation to where he can pay capital gains tax rates rather than ordinary income tax rates when he takes that money out of 401k. That's something a lot of advisors miss. They just take your 401k and slop it into an IRA, and you lose that advantage because it wasn't performed properly. We have another client that works for a defense contractor over in Niles, and that company, there's always a bunch of company stock. He's got like $500,000 of company stock in his 401k, and nobody at the company and nobody else ever told him, the plan advisor they have for the 401k, nobody ever told him he could use a strategy called net unrealized appreciation. So that $450,000 is what his company stock. Say if he paid, it's gone up because it's a defense contractor, it's gone through the roof these last few years. Maybe he paid $200,000 for it, now it's worth $450,000. Well, that gain of $250,000, you don't want to pay ordinary income tax on it if you could pay long-term capital gains tax on it instead, using net unrealized appreciation. So there's a lot of little wrinkles in the tax code that a lot of folks aren't getting help with. And we want to talk. So in the bottom left here, if you've saved less than $250,000 for retirement, like we said, we're really concerned about your Social Security. We're really concerned about getting it tax-free. If you're on the other hand, and we probably ought to update this form. We've updated some of our other forms. It says $1 million or more. We are having a lot of people come see us. I say a bulk of the people right now are $1 million to $3 million, save for retirement, excluding real estate. But we have plenty of folks that are well above that. We had a gentleman on the weekend. Has anybody seen me on TV on the weekend? I usually look better. I have a suit. You see me? I look better, right? Look at that suit jacket and all that. So Rosemary, what channel do you see me on? On Channel 5, right? So on Channel 9, you like 9? We're on 9 a lot more, yeah. So on WGN Channel 9, that's one of the stations. It's Chicagoland Retirement Report with Daniel Martin. And we had a gentleman see us on Channel 9. Now he's up here and he's in Naples, Florida. Have you noticed everybody in Illinois wants to eventually move to Naples, Florida, if they haven't already? So this gentleman has a business, I want to say Lake County. Yeah, and so he's got a home and a business up here. And he started this business from scratch. And it's kind of a blue-collarish business. I won't get into the details of it. And he's only 58 years of age now, and now he has a paid-off place in Naples and a paid-off house up here. I mean, he's really worked hard, but he's really become a successful business person. And he goes, he talked to Max actually on the phone, and he goes, I want to come see you guys. And Max is like, okay. And he tells him the whole story, whole kit and caboodle, what's going on. And he comes in to see us, and we go, hey, how you doing? How was your trip been? He goes, oh, pretty good. My flight was on time. What the hell is he talking about? What do you mean your flight was on time? Oh, yeah, I just landed at O'Hare and made it over here in no time. This is great. Because we're about 7-minute Uber ride, you know? And he goes, oh, guys, I didn't explain. I just flew up here from Naples to come see you. Naples, Florida, right? Yeah, okay, right. I'm thinking Naples, Italy, and Naples, Florida. Yeah, so I go, but I thought you live up at, I think it's like Round Lake Beach or something like that. And he's got a certain type of business, kind of blue-collar business. And he goes, guys, I really got a problem. So I was talking about the assets some people have that just look like everyday Joes. He goes, guys, I got a problem. We go, what's the problem? He goes, I'm worth $30 million. I don't know what to do. So we got to change these boxes. We got to make them different. It's a good problem to have. But the darn taxes, he's just now finally realizing that and he's got a great CPA, but they're looking at last year. Us as consumers, a lot of us, we've misused our CPAs and enrolled agents as the rearview mirror for last tax year. And so this gentleman really needs to think beyond that. He's already in danger now. If he can legitimately, he's repositioning himself as a Florida resident where there's no estate tax. Did you all know in Illinois we have an estate tax? Anybody aware of that? Does anybody know when the Illinois estate tax could affect you? What level of wealth?
5 million?
A little lower, 4 million. Where's your name tent there? Calling everybody by name. It's Chuck. Okay. So Chuck, if I pass away at 4 million, do I have to worry about the Illinois estate tax? It's a trick question almost. But if you have kids and they love you, they're going to be worried about it, right? Okay, so if you pass away with exactly $4 million, there's no Illinois estate tax. $4 million and 1 penny, there's a whole complex formula. It's a little bit different for everybody. $4 million and 1 penny, the tax on that 1 penny could be $285,000. But don't do good stuff with the money. What are you doing here? What are y'all? Everybody. Yeah, so that $4 million, you pass away at $4 million, nothing goes to Illinois revenue. $4 million and 1 penny, it can be $285,000. What's crazy too, just because you're here, Ray and Josephine, congratulations for being early, being in the front row. So let's say Ray and Josephine, they have $4 million even. As a couple, they're okay. Let's say Ray, since we're always trying to get rid of Ray, right, because he's a guy. So let's say Ray goes first. Would you think now that then his $4 million has portability over to you and now you can go to $8 million? That's how the federal one would work, where you have the portability. Illinois, there's no portability. Now there's a thing that we call a Tucker Shelter Trust. Now, not an attorney, we work with an outside law firm for this, where we can gain portability. So if Ray passes away, his $4 million is made portable. With the Illinois estate tax, it is a threshold, not an exclusion. So the federal one is an exclusion. Illinois, we have a threshold. So if let's say if we don't have what we call a Tucker Shelter Trust, then it's just $4 million for the couple, and you don't get a $4 million portability over to you. It's for $8 million. If you have that Tucker Shelter Trust, you have the $4 million portability. He passes away, nothing's due there. The $4 million comes over to your side. You now have an $8 million threshold, which you don't have otherwise without that trust. Okay. Now, if you pass away, you go second. Congratulations. But you go second. If you have it exactly $8 million, no tax. 1 penny over, Illinois taxes all the money. That's how it works. That's why the tax on that last penny is $285,000. So yeah, that's 4 million, no problem at all. If we're a couple, we can up it to 8 million. For an individual, that Tucker Shelter Trust does not help for an individual. It's still at 4 million. Lisa? You're in all the equity and all your properties. The equity would be the difference between the value and any mortgage. That equity, that part of the house where you don't owe anything to the bank. Yeah, all of your net worth gets put into that. All your retirement accounts, everything. So there's a lot there. Is anybody learning stuff? A couple things you haven't heard elsewhere, probably. I'm kind of frustrated that, we can't help everybody. We can't serve every family in Chicagoland and whatever else, or Illinois, but I'm kind of frustrated that I'm kind of frustrated this is new information, right? It shouldn't be. It should be well known. But I don't know. I guess the less people know, the more taxes we pay. So keep the government. The state of Illinois, we spend over $50 billion a year now. And the Illinois estate tax brings in about $1 billion a year now. And so it's about 2% of the revenue. I think we ought to just get rid of it and just figure out, maybe not waste money some different ways, or maybe get the tax a different way. Maybe start taxing the dead people, Now I'm a comedian. But we just had on our radio show, we have a radio show on Sunday mornings on AM 560 from 7 to 9 a.m. And we just had a gentleman last Sunday in the 8 a.m. hour from the Illinois Farm Bureau talking about this Illinois estate tax. And it's really hitting our state's farmers very hard, where it's breaking up family farms because they have to go sell off land to pay the tax. Something that was really crazy that we were kind of surprised to know. I grew up in Michigan in sort of a rural area, but we weren't farmers. We kind of know a little bit about farming, but not a lot. The gentleman from the Illinois Farm Bureau said typically a corn farmer has to have 1,500 acres to farm that's all contiguous, right? That's like continental U.S., forget about Alaska and Hawaii, you want it all connected, right? The lower 48, So you have to have 1,500 acres for a corn farmer for a net profit of $75,000 per year. And he said, a good analogy, an acre of land is roughly the size of a football field. So you have to have enough land for 1,500 football fields, farm that, have all the heavy equipment, all the seed, and there are a lot of times there's having to spray and everything for the bugs, and all of that to net $75,000. And then the land might be worth $4 million and a penny. And the state of Illinois says, well, the kids owe us, close to 300 grand, and they're like, what do we do? We didn't have 300 grand laying around. Dad made 75,000, and Mom and Dad made 75,000. So it's a problem for family farmers, mostly downstate. Around this area, a lot of small manufacturing businesses could fall in this. We find that quite a bit. A lot of those are family businesses. So if you want to come see us Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, morning or afternoon, no charge, no obligation. In these little boxes, put a little check mark for times that typically work for you. Let's say that Ray and Josephine, they're retired, they have nothing better to do, right? And so they could check up to 6 boxes. Congratulations. If you're still working, sometimes we'll have somebody come. Is there a lady who's here? This works best when there's a husband-wife couple, like we call it mixed gender, opposite sex couple. Is there a lady who's here without her husband? Just to use as an example. Nobody wants to volunteer. I'll pretend, Rosemary, that there's a Mr. Rosemary at home, okay? So what we have a lot is we'll have the lady will be here without her husband, because I'm saying husband because men are stubborn. Have you ever heard that? So Rosemary might say, oh, but my husband, he's so important at work, he can never get away. And so what I say to that is, hey, Rosemary, how about Thursday at 4? Because if Mr. Rosemary, if he isn't getting it done by 4 o'clock on Thursday, it isn't getting done this week, right? That's how you straighten out Mr. Man, right? Yeah. So those of you who didn't want to raise your hand, you made me use poor Rosemary as an example. Just make a note of that. On Thursday at 4 would probably be good. So if we have $1 million or more saved for retirement, we're concerned about still maximizing our Social Security, minimizing and eliminating federal income tax on Social Security, minimizing and eliminating state and federal income taxes in retirement. I'll tell you one thing you don't want to do, and we're going to get more into Social Security specifically here in a little bit. One thing you don't want to do, we have a client here in Mount Prospect, and then she was a client for about a year, then she referred her boyfriend to us. And her boyfriend used to live in Mundelein. And then his brother, well, I don't know why he listened to his brother. His brother goes, what are you doing living in Mundelein? You ought to move to Kenosha, because Wisconsin, the taxes are lower. Does Illinois tax retirement accounts? Not at all. This gentleman had $1.5 million in his IRA. Sold his house, bought a house in Kenosha. Then his girlfriend in Mount Prospect said, let's go see Scott we're in Chicago across the street from Park Ridge, Higgins and I-90, that whole area there, Cumberland, all that. So he comes down from Kenosha to see us. First meeting, we just blow his doors off what he was doing, where he was having investments make income. We were able to increase that by like 50% more income. It was really something else. I can't do it for everybody, but that day worked out. And I said, now here's the deal though, you're now a Wisconsin resident. You were paying 0 state income tax to Illinois on your IRA. You moved to Kenosha with $1.5 million IRA up there. Does Wisconsin tax retirement accounts? Yes, they do. Who would guess what the top state income tax rate is in Wisconsin? On darn IRAs, no less. 7.65%. So he went from a state that doesn't tax IRAs at all to a state that taxes IRAs up to 7.65%. Property taxes oftentimes aren't that much better in Wisconsin, so if you're going to consider other places to move, one thing I would consider, now I like Wisconsin too. You can have the Packers, but I like the cheese curds, the bratwurst, the beer, the guy with the lederhosen and the accordion, that's pretty cool, and the trombone and all that stuff. I like all that German stuff up there. And but if you're going to go up there, I like lakes and woods and snowmobiling and hockey and all this stuff. But if you're going to go move up there, what you do is that as an Illinois resident, you perform your tax planning as an Illinois resident, and as we scoot the pieces around the chessboard, we pay Illinois nothing. Then you move up to Wisconsin with tax-free accounts, and then Wisconsin can't tax you on it. And also the tax planning we perform these next few years, at least these next 3 years, we can count on the Trump tax cuts being there, whether you like them or not. My mom voted for Bernie, and she drives a hybrid. She cannot stand President Trump, but I was explaining how the Trump tax cuts being extended by the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Boy, she just does not like hearing that name. Any of them. so I said, well, Mom, we're using the One Big Beautiful Bill Act because it gave some people who had procrastinated on their tax planning for retirement. The Trump tax cuts are permanent now for 2026, 27, 28. What could happen in January 2029? So it could be repealed. The tax rates could be repealed. What would be most likely is we would go back to the tax rates we had under the Obama administration. That would be the most likely outcome if the One Big Beautiful Bill Act were repealed. This is kind of something that's familiar, like, well, let's just change them to pre-Trump, which would be the Obama federal income tax rates. The income tax rates under President Obama, and it's not a political thing, it's just a thing, it's just a math thing, okay? Some of the brackets were 25% higher. What I mean by that, right now there's a 12% federal bracket. Before the Trump tax cuts were passed in 2017, and they became effective in 2018, but there's a 12% bracket now. It used to be a 15% bracket. So if we were to go from a 12% bracket to a 15% bracket, that's not a 3% increase. From 12% to 15% is an increase in 25% in that one bracket. Right? Go from 12 to 15, that bracket increases by 25%. Why that's important, even if you're retired? If you go into retirement with most of your money in tax-deferred retirement accounts, IRA, 401k, 403b, TSP, SEP, Simple, KEO, I don't know what else I forgot, TSP, I went through a whole bunch of them. If you go into retirement with most of your accounts tax-deferred, as you take the money out because you need it, or because in your 70s, your required minimum distributions kick on, you have to pay federal income tax rate at some rates in the future that you don't know what they're going to be. You have no control over what the rates will be in the future. If you have enough taxable income coming off of your tax-deferred retirement accounts, the IRS can tax up to 85% of your Social Security as ordinary income. So that's really a big deal. So that's a big part of how we would like to consider reducing or eliminating taxes on your Social Security. After this little survey form, if you don't want to see us where it says Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, just write in giant letters, no, N-O, giant letters. You don't need to tell us how you have to take the cat to the dry cleaner, or you got to, rotate the tomato garden, or whatever it is you think you got to do. It's fine. Don't owe us anything. Tonight's free, and enjoy yourself. Also free to see us, no obligation. The second, if you do come see us, we have a little map card. We fill this in here tonight at the end when we figure out when you come see us, so we fill that out. You fill out the survey form. The survey form is the only thing we get back. These map cards and all the rest of it is yours to keep. The second map card shows you, when you come to see us, that we've got Higgins Road here. East River Road, if you were in the city, East River Road curves and becomes Montrose and goes to the lake and out to the dog beach. I used to take my dogs there when I lived in the city. But East River Road here. I live in Mount Prospect now, just little ways over. Higgins Road runs into East River Road, and actually this isn't correct because Higgins Road keeps going. If you go north in East River Road, it turns into D Road into Park Ridge. So this 8765, years ago, Nicole, she used to work in 8765, that's a Lutheran building. Now we're on the other end here where it says 8725, that's that Valspar Rand McNally building. So that's 8725, and remember that sign that says Scott Tucker Solutions, that's where our office is. And right out where that little star is, that's your Rockstar parking. So you just come off Higgins, past these garages. We don't like putting people in parking garages. You drive around, you park on the grade level, as they call it, and you just walk up the sidewalk and through the revolving doors. And we got a real nice office to show you, conference rooms. When you come see us, Nicole is so thoughtful what she does. She has fresh baked chocolate chip cookies for you, cup of coffee, tea, sparkling water, still water. There's nothing she doesn't think of. In your folder on the left side, we have some things here. We have our Social Security and Medicare 2026 quick guide. It's not the easiest thing to write on because it's got this funny, fancy lamination on it because we're so fancy. You want to be on this side here where my finger is. It's going to say FRA. So, yep, you got it right there. It says FRA at the top where my finger is. And everybody should have it face up unless you flipped it over or whatnot. So you can see we have a lot of people that want to take their Social Security real early. You can see that your year of birth determines your full retirement age. Is full retirement age when you can get the most possible money from Social Security? No. When can you first file for Social Security?
62.
62. If you file at 62, your check, a good rule of thumb, at 62, your check will be about half of what it would be at 70. So you got to think about that because there's the automatic roll-ups. So from 62 to full retirement age, every year you defer taking your benefit. Your benefit will increase by 6 2/3% per year to full retirement age. And if from full retirement age to age 70, it'll increase 8% per year. And you do not miss out on the cost of living increases for inflation. Those get built into they get baked in the cake for next year's Social Security benefit letter that you get at SSA.gov. So here we have, my mom was born in 1947. So her full retirement age was 66 and 0 months. If she took her money at 62 instead of 66, her benefit at 62 would be 25% less than if she took it at 66. Now, if you keep going to age 70, it really gets cooking. I was born in 1973, and so my full retirement age, I'm 53 now, save you the math. So I was born in 1973, and so my full retirement age is 67 and 0 months. If I take my money at 62 instead, I get 30% less than if I waited to 67. But a good rule of thumb, we see a lot of times where people are getting, at 62, they're getting $2,000 a month. At full retirement age, they're getting $3,000 a month. At age 70, they're getting $4,000 a month. So that's a pretty typical when you compare all the way from 62 to 70. It's about $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for a lot of folks. It depends on your earnings history. There's an area here where it says Social Security benefits, maximum monthly benefit, $41.52. It's not real easy to write on these, but you should write where it says $41.52 there, where my thumb is. You should write at FRA. So the maximum monthly benefit for Social Security is $4,152 per person at full retirement age. Does anybody know this year what the maximum monthly benefit is for someone filing at age 70? So it's not for all 70-year-olds. The maximum monthly benefit in 2026 for an individual with a good earnings record filing at age 70 is $5,181. So there are some folks filing right now at age 70 that are getting $60,000 a year, and sometimes there's two of them because they got a spouse in the house. So there are some couples right now that are filing at 70, and they had a good earnings history, and they're getting between the two of them $120,000 from Social Security retirement. If we could, I'm not saying we can, but if we could get you $120,000 from Social Security retirement, would you like to pay tax on none of it or on 85% of it? It's not very patriotic. Uncle Sam needs the money, come on. Yeah, so yeah, you seem like people want your own money back. What's going on here? Yeah, so there are people who file incorrectly. So if there's a couple that could get $120,000 at age 70, they might have only got $60,000 a year at age 62. If we could get them $120,000 at age 70, instead of paying federal income tax and 85% of it, I'd rather they pay federal income tax on none of it. My first job, I was a grocery bagger at Schmidt's grocery store in Lansing, Michigan, on the northeast corner of Waverly and Saginaw Highway. Does anybody know where that is? It's across the street from the golf course. No? I used to ask that all the time. I had one year we taught a lot of Social Security workshops, and I had a couple times during the year somebody goes, I know where that is. And one gentleman says, I know where that is. And I go, well, how do you know where that is? And he goes, because my wife, she was a homecoming queen at Waverly High School. I'm like, the Waverly Warriors? Yeah, the Waverly Warriors. And because I went to school next door to Waverly High School. It was a bigger high school than us. I went to high school in DeWitt, Michigan, home of the DeWittians. That's really the Panthers. So yeah, DeWitt, Michigan, home of the DeWittians. Then there's Waverly High School. And so my first check, I was bagging groceries. I had a 1978 Chevy Nova with a 305 V8 and all that, and that thing just guzzled gas. And this is 1989. 1989. I was 16 years old. And my first job on the books, because the government frowns on child labor, so other stuff I had to do under the table. But so first job on the books, and I bagging the groceries. And you know how you ever have one of these jobs in high school where you're off on Friday, but you had to go in on Friday to get your check, and you're not even working that day? And then you had to race over to the bank because the bank closed at 5, because this is before the internet. There was no direct deposit. You had a window envelope with a pay stub. Pay stub used to be a pay stub, not just an email. And then there's a paper check behind that, and then you got to race next door to like Bank of America, whatever it was, and deposit that really quick. But I go in right after school. Probably about getting to be about 3:15 in the afternoon. A lot of the banks can be open till 5. I go over to Pete in the manager bullpen at Schmidt's grocery store. They go, yeah, Pete, can I get my check? Oh yeah, Scotty, great job this week, last 2 weeks, whatever it was. So I get my first paycheck, my first official job. I go over, so Josephine's at registered number 1. I open this thing up. I'm like, hey, it's kind of slow on Friday afternoon. It's not busy yet. Josephine, I got a problem with my paycheck. Oh, what's that? I go, what's this? SS Social Security, SS Medicare. And she's like, oh, honey, that's for your Social Security and your Medicare. And I go, I don't want any. I got to buy gas, and I got things to do and all this. So I've been paying this Social Security FICA since I was 16. And I'm 53 now. And some of you are still paying it and you're 70 or even more life experience than that. So you've been paying taxes to fund Social Security. Let's not pay taxes to receive it. Okay? There is a little thing, how easy is it to have your Social Security federally taxed? The lower left where my thumb is here, it says Social Security benefits taxation, single or head of household. If you show a modified adjusted gross income in retirement as low as $25,000, that could be IRA distributions, by the way. It could be monthly distributions from, or monthly pension checks. But a lot of people just get into that with just the IRA or 401k. So a single person or head of household, as little as $25,000 modified adjusted gross income, you can find up to 50% of your Social Security federally taxable. What kind of income doesn't figure into your modified adjusted gross income? Think about what income is not reportable income.
Under the table, then.
Well, that's tax evasion. That's criminal.
We won't go there.
We're talking about the legal ways. Roth income is not reportable income. There's nowhere to put it on your tax return. Okay? So your Roth income does not cause your modified adjusted gross income to go up. It doesn't figure into it at all. Some folks come to us, they come see us and they say, well, I've got this, they've got specially designed life insurance and they've got a way where they can take money from it tax-free and all that. That's not reportable. And so if you have your income, there's other ways, but if you have non-reportable income, because it's not supposed to be reported under our tax code, then it doesn't influence your modified adjusted gross income at all. So if a single person, you'd be surprised, you can live really well and not have much of a modified adjusted gross income, and you can stay below that 32 or that 25,000 as a single person, and not have to pay any federal income tax on your Social Security, no matter how high your Social Security is. Okay, you could be getting the $5,000 a month. You could be getting a single person getting $60,000 a year in Social Security, and a whole bunch of money, say $100,000, $200,000 a year from Roth. They wouldn't have a modified adjusted gross income that would hit 25,000. The married filing jointly. A married couple filing jointly with as little as $32,000 of modified adjusted gross income can have up to 50% of their Social Security federally taxed. Does anybody know who Peter Thiel is? Does anybody know who Elon Musk is? Okay. Peter Thiel and Elon Musk were two of the 6 founders of PayPal. Way back when, Peter Thiel put $2,000 into his Roth IRA and he self-directed it into PayPal stock. And then once you're within Roth, you can diversify down the way, and you can buy and sell in Roth, and you don't cause any capital gains, you don't cause any taxes, and he made a lot of smart investments. It was leaked some years ago by an IRS contractor, this is years ago, that Peter Thiel's Roth IRA at that time was over $5 billion. Peter Thiel can retire, get his 60 grand a year of Social Security federally tax-free, and draw as much money as he wants after 59 and a half from his $5 billion Roth IRA, pay no taxes, right? There are other ways you can pay no taxes too, but that's a pretty good one. Another way that somebody like him, or let's say Elon Musk, so a way that Elon Musk, if we just want to talk about him for a minute, how he's got all this stock and all this. So he could have stock like in say like a Tesla or a SpaceX or name a company that he would have a lot of stock in. The way a lot of wealthy people get money to live on with their highly appreciated stock, they take out a loan out against it. Loan proceeds are not taxable. So there's many interesting ways to pay less in taxes legally. Legally, Ray, not going to prison by not declaring income. How many of you think Social Security is going broke? Show of hands. Come on, more than that. How many people are concerned?
I think it's going to get hit in 33 to 23% reduction because it won't the fund will be depleted.
If we don't change anything, it'll get depleted. I can't see your name, sir. John, just so I can pick on you. No, I'm not going to pick on you. I like to try to learn the names as we go.
I think that's pretty much a guarantee. Nobody has the guts to do anything.
So I'm going to give you some positive news because the media likes to tell us the bad news, right? Like if you watch the Channel 5 or the WGN, they like to, so-and-so got shot, and this guy got shot, and this guy got shot. So that kind of thing. So there are a few good things that can happen. One thing, the baby boomers are a big generation. They're stopping working. That's not great because they're all going to claim, and there's not a lot of revenue coming in. Now, my generation, Gen X, there's not enough of us to prop up the program. After my generation, there are the millennials, and they're not 15 anymore. I know everybody picks on, millennials this, millennials that. So the millennials now are roughly 20 years of age to 40 years of age. They are a large population. They're a big wave like the baby boomers. They're going to start coming into their best earning years. So some of them are about 40. 10 years from now, they get in their 50s, and typically your 50s, that 10 years are your best earning years. They're paying a lot of Social Security taxes, and they're going to pay more and more, and that's going to fund the system again. That's one thing there. Now that's a shorter term thing or a medium term thing. These full retirement ages in the upper left here, when's the last time these ages, these full retirement ages, when were these tables set? This table set in the upper left.
20 years ago, 30 years ago?
What year?
Was that the 86?
Pretty close, 83. Mm-hmm. So 83, a couple things happened in 83. Who was president in 83? Ronald Reagan. Who was Speaker of the House? Tip O'Neill. And they had this thing where Social Security's going broke. They had the same thing in 83 they're having now, right? So that was 43 years ago. 43 years ago. So I was 10. That's how long ago that was. I had hair and everything. My whole life ahead of me. So in 1983, Reagan and Tip O'Neill, they got together at the White House. They had a glass of bourbon, bottle of bourbon, however they did it. And they came to a compromise. You guys remember when people used to compromise? And they just made a compromise. They go, we're going to have to do a couple things. We got to rearrange some of this. And so it used to be 65 for everybody, and they changed these tables. But now they haven't changed this in so long that if 1960 or later, everybody 1960 or later, their full retirement age is 67 and 0 months. If you were born in 2025 and you're not even a year old yet, your full retirement age is 67 and 0 months. What they ought to do, I have some younger people that work with us, we ought to just rearrange all their full retirement ages and move them back. Because really, it's a thing that we're probably going to need to do is adjust these ages again. We used to have people used to retire and keel over the next month, and it's not happening like that anymore. People are living a really long time on retirement. We have people having 30 and 40-year retirements. Our most experienced client she just turned 102. You know, I said, when you were 62, did you ever think? No, I never thought. So these full retirement ages could change. Another thing that could change would be before 1983, nobody's Social Security was federally taxable until 1983. Then Reagan and Tip O'Neill, they said, okay, certain people are going to have up to 50% of their Social Security taxed. In 1993, in the Clinton administration, it was right before Newt took over with his Contract for America deal. So in 1993, during the Clinton administration, they changed it where some people would pay federal income tax up to 85% of their Social Security. Now, what else they could do? They could say for some people, they're going to get taxed on up to 100% of their Social Security. That starts funding the system again. Moving Matt's full retirement age back helps, and then changing to 100% taxable on some people's Social Security. And then also in the upper right here, the Social Security wage base. Right now, an individual who makes more than $184,500, they only have the first $184,500 taxed for Social Security FICA. Even if they make $3 million, well, they could say all of your income is taxed at the Social Security FICA. They could do that, or some greater amount, higher than $184,000. The part the employee's paying is 6.2% right now, and then the employer pays another 6.2% that you don't see unless you're an employer. They could change that. What if they made it 7.5% for the employee, 7.5% for the employer? They could make that pretty easily. What about if they changed, and of course, if you're self-employed, you pay 12.4% the self-employed Social Security rate because you're paying both sides of the 6.2%. They could do there's a whole lot of things, a whole lot of levers they can pull there. Another thing they always do too, typically in recent years, Medicare premiums are going up about 6% per year, but your Social Security cost of living allowances are maybe around averaging about 3% a year. They are a little bit over 3% a year. So in the bottom right, you have these inflation tables or these cost of living adjustments. For the cost of living adjustment, they use a thing called CPIW. It's the Consumer Price Index, retail inflation, minus food and energy, because they figure you're retired, you don't need food, you might not have much energy, you won't even notice. Does anybody believe in 2017 that inflation was 0.3%? Right? Well, if you exclude food and energy, you can make an argument for it. So they increase your social, like this last Social Security increase in January, they gave you a 2.8% raise, and if the number that's in my head for Medicare, I think it was 5.9% increase on premiums. I don't know if any of you have that memorized back there. So there's a lot of levers they can pull. So there's some ways they balance the books. The way they prop up Medicare, they say, oh, your premiums are going higher in your Medicare Part B and Part D. And then on Social Security, well, inflation wasn't what you think because you don't need food and energy. This next page is the Federal 1040 that most of us just got done working on for last tax year. Online, they don't explain this on the tax form here, but on line 2A, tax-exempt interest. Tax-exempt interest comes from municipal bonds. In the world of bonds, municipal bonds are a state level of government and smaller. So as Illinois residents, if you wanted your tax-exempt interest to truly be tax-exempt for state income tax, Illinois residents have to buy Illinois bonds. Anybody want to lend money to the state of Illinois? How about Crook County? Yeah, state of Illinois, Crook County, Chicago Public Schools. I say Chicago Public Schools because Chicago Public Schools for about a decade now, they've been issuing junk bonds. That's how bad the credit rating is. And every few years, a school district goes bankrupt, they go through federal bankruptcy court. If CPS goes through bankruptcy court, they wipe out all the bondholders. I had a gentleman sitting right here at Oakton and Des Plaines, and he goes, yeah, but has that ever happened? Every year, school districts go bankrupt. Somewhere around the country, the school district going bankrupt. And he goes, yeah, I don't think so. That's never going to happen. You think CPS handles the money well, do you? Why do they have to keep refinancing the debt on junk bonds? I said, sir, you remember about 20 years ago, the city of Detroit went bankrupt. The city of Detroit went to federal bankruptcy court. They wiped out all their bondholders. So tax-exempt interest, I'm not a big fan of it because I don't want to buy Illinois bonds, Crook County bonds, City of Chicago bonds, even Mount Prospect, bonds, right in bed with Cook County and with state of Illinois. They're all, living together. So tax-exempt interest, though, on line 2A, once they're on Social Security, I don't even want tax-exempt interest from muni bonds on my tax return because it can cause up to 85% of your Social Security to be federally taxed. And they don't tell you that. So tax-exempt muni bonds aren't really tax exempt if they can cause up to 85% of your Social Security to be federally taxed. One item here, line 6A, once it's the right time and the right filing strategy to be on Social Security, on line 6A, I want that number to be as large as possible. If it's Ray and Josephine, I'd like that number to be 120 grand. That'd be great.
Me too.
Right? Now, it's possible to have line 6A to be 120 grand for some folks and have line 6B, the taxable amount of Social Security, to be 0. Or it could be 85%. Yeah. I'll make it a little simpler. It's possible for some folks to have, a couple to have 6A be $100,000 per year for Social Security and then find that they didn't do the proper planning, so then line 6B, the taxable amount of Social Security, is $85,000. Or if we did the right planning, it could be $100,000 on 6A and 0 taxable on 6B. And it's just a matter, and nothing illegal about it getting it to 0, it's just a matter of planning. The tax code, some people call them loopholes. The tax code has several incentives. It's about 1,700 incentives in the tax code. We use about 100 of them. There's about 5 that we use the most. But we don't just do Roth conversions. That's just basic. You hear a lot about Roth conversions. They're fine, but they're not the holy grail or the easy. I guess they are the easy button, but you're really leaving a lot of money on the table if that's all you do. We have our 2026 tax summary here. One thing I highlighted in the middle of mine, it says deduction for seniors. You have to be age 65 and older. So if you're 64, you don't get it. Let's say that Ray and Josephine, I know Josephine, you look like you're 29, but let's say that Ray is 65. Yeah. It's like that car dealer where I grew up. There was this guy who got caught rolling back the odometers. Yeah. I'd like to roll back my odometer. I tell you what, things worked better back in the day. So let's say Ray is 65 and Josephine 64. Only Ray gets the senior deduction for the $6,000 per year. He does not necessarily get his Social Security federally tax-free. He just gets a tax deduction of $6,000. That tax deduction of $6,000 it might save him $600. It might not save him much, like if you're in the 10% federal bracket, just to make an easy story that way with the math. Now there's a phase-out deduction of the deduction for seniors too. If you're married filing jointly and you make $150,000 or more, the deduction starts getting phased out. By the time a couple that's 65 or older or either person is 65 or older and they get to $250,000 of income, there is no more senior deductions. That's a phase out. Single, it starts phasing out between $75,000 and $175,000. Also, after 2028, this deduction goes away. So what I expect is, I think Vice President Vance will probably be the nominee for the Republicans. I would see it being a thing that he would say, vote for me so we can extend the senior deduction. That would just be that's an obvious political football. And that doesn't matter if you wear a red ball cap, a blue ball cap, or no ball cap at all. That's just how I think that's going to play out. We have one thing we have folks running into right now, markets are near all-time highs. A lot of people are really cocky. We have people, Max and I were just talking about this recently on our podcast. People are coming to see us and they're saying, they'll name something that's high flying like NVIDIA, which NVIDIA has been a thing since 2019, Max? 2016. Max found out about it even before I did. 10 years, a decade. So we have people come to us now that it's been in the news for a few years and it's gone way, it's been around for longer and shooting up. Now that it's at all-time highs, people want to buy it. So I have a saying, people love to buy high and sell low, right? So this is about the sequence of returns risk. Jane retired in 2010. In 2010, the markets were very favorable. The right-hand side, she had an investment account of $500,000. One column to the left, she took out 30 grand per year for income to supplement her income there. And the market just didn't have any big crashes in the 2010s. Bottom right corner, after 10 years of taking 30 grand a year out of this, she started with 500, now she has 874. She thinks she's a genius, but she's actually been taking a lot of risk. She's been invested in the S&P 500, the US stock market. The other side, the lady on the other side did the exact same thing, but in a different decade when markets weren't so favorable. So the gray-haired lady, Jill, she retired in 2000. Upper right, she started with 500 grand. One column to the left, she took 30 grand a year of income. But one column to the left of that, there's some big crashes there. There's the .com, pets.com, Enron thing there in the early 2000s. Then there was 2008. Go back to the right-hand side there. She started with 500,000, took out 30 grand a year, just like the other lady did. But at the end of these 10 years, she only has $96,000 left. She is 3 to 4 years from running out of money. They both took the same amount of risk. One thought she was smart, she was just lucky. The other lady thought, well, yeah, this probably works, right? Just, Bob Brinker said put it in an S&P 5, or Warren Buffett said put it in an S&P 500 index fund. But there are times in your life where that can be very dangerous, and this can be a time when you're 10 years from retirement. Gets dangerous. 5 years from retirement, newly retired, 5 years into retirement, these are some dangerous areas. These are the 5 critical areas of retirement planning that we help our folks with. We're happy to have you come see us. We'll walk through all this with you and let you know if you're going to be okay. If you like, we can even get out a Sharpie and give you a number that we think is appropriate, 1 to 10 in each of these areas after we kind of look under the hood. And we're not here to throw stones, point fingers, spilt milk, any of that. We're here to serve families, whether you become clients or not. We know from experience, half of you already have an advisor. The other half of you never hire an advisor. Somehow, every workshop we do, we have 1 or 2 families slip through the cracks who actually end up wanting to work with us. It's amazing. That guy back where I grew up in Lansing, Michigan, that guy, this car dealer really did get caught turning back odometers. He used to have a phrase on his TV commercials. He used to say, "If I make a buck, it's sheer luck." And that's kind of how this works. Most of you won't become clients. You already got an advisor. You might want a second opinion. That's fine. The other half of you are do-it-yourselfers, and you're maybe a little bit control freaks, and that's okay too. But every time we do one of these, we get a couple more client families. And not only getting the information out there, even if you never work with us, is a great community service. But this is also a way that we gain clients. So we have the investment planning and management. Most folks who have an advisor only get advice in investments. That's not enough. If you're paying your advisor 1% a year, whatever you're doing, and all you're getting is help with investments, that's not going to get it done the way it ought to be done. The tax planning for retirement, we're seeing folks that we're able to save them $500,000, $1 million, $2 million over the rest of their lives, and also give them advice so that their estate avoids the Illinois estate tax, things like that. Now, it depends how much we can save you based upon how much you've saved tax deferred. There are a whole lot of strategies to help you protect your assets with things like irrevocable trust for some of the money. We can talk to you about South Dakota Dynasty Trust, even if you're never going to set foot in South Dakota. South Dakota Dynasty Trust is what we can use to create an infinite a trust that never dies, that can fund future generations. Some people that's their thing, and they want to have 5 and 6 generations later still receiving money from their estate. We have things like some folks want to avoid lawsuits, so there's things like Cook Islands Trusts that are fully legal, but you have to file certain notices with the IRS and things. So all kinds of things that have to do with trusts, and we're not attorneys. Healthcare planning for retirement, Medicare, health insurance, so you can retire in your 60s and not have to wait till 65, or in your 50s and not have to wait till 65. So health insurance to get you to 65, Medicare, long-term care, Medicaid Asset Protection Trust to pay for long-term care. The upper right there, wills and trusts. Even if you have your trust nailed down, if you haven't done your tax planning and you're going to leave a whole bunch of tax-deferred money, IRA, 401k, and the rest, to the next generation, you're going to leave your kids and grandkids your unpaid federal income taxes. We have a couple that we're working with right now. Their daughter has a special needs trust. If they passed away yesterday, they're leaving a couple $1 million tax deferred to their daughter's special needs trust. The daughter's special needs trust will have to pay the federal income taxes on their IRAs and 401ks. That stuff, and they have currently 4 advisors. Nobody's ever told them that. They have almost $3 million investable. Nobody's ever told them. And when we've pointed it out, they're irritated that nobody ever told them that. Income planning for retirement. One big area we work with is Social Security retirement planning there, but also this all ties together. The investments have something to say about what kind of income you might enjoy or what kind of crashes you might have. The tax planning ties into the legacy planning and vice versa. The healthcare planning can affect the legacy you leave. This income planning is related to the tax planning. All of these, it's like drug interactions. But most people are just getting advice in the area of investments, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, commonly you're just paying too much attention to the investments and not doing anything about any of the rest of it. So what we'd like to do here, let's say that Rosemary, I'm going to use you as a guinea pig once again, or the example. So if Rosemary wants to come see us, I would ask you to stay seated. For some reason, everybody wants to put their name tag in their folder, and then if I turn around, I forget who's what. So if you would stay, if Rosemary wants to come see us, just as an example, just stay seated, please. Keep your name tag out in front of you. Have this survey form fully completed, please, and then have this map card at the ready, because we're gonna come to an agreement on a time to see us. If you do not want to see us, that's fine. There we go. So if you do not want to see us, that's just fine. Just put your first and last name at the top, please, and write no on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then just make sure we get this form back. All the rest of the stuff in your folder is yours to keep, and I look forward to seeing you at the office.